Let's bring in Mr. Dean right now to make the case for himself. It's good to have you. Excited?
Excited. I got to tell you, Chris, I wish every American could come along with me for a day on the campaign trail. The way that Granite Staters practice democracy, it's reinvigorating, re-energizing, and spectacular. And the fact that the president is not on the ballot, a choice he made, is such an affront to democracy. It's appalling. And frankly, that the fact that the New Hampshire Secretary of State just had to send a cease and desist letter to the Democratic National Committee to cease and desist from the unlawful suppression of voters. I'm telling you, Chris, there's a lot going on here that people are not aware of.
What's going on?
And it's appalling.
Tell me.
Well, I'm telling you,
What's
the Democratic National Committee, the suppression is this. In the state of Florida, the Democratic Party decided that Joe Biden won the primary, which hasn't happened yet, and will assign all their delegates to Joe Biden, disenfranchising 4 million or so Florida voters who won't even have a chance to vote in the primary. New Hampshire, you know what's going on here, I'll tell you again, but also North Carolina. Same thing, one name on the ballot, Joe Biden, breaking their own rules. Massachusetts Dems, they tried to do the same thing, but the Secretary of State intervened. Here in New Hampshire, the Democratic National Committee sent a letter to the New Hampshire Democratic Party saying that this is not indeed an election and it's meaningless. And that prompted a response from the New Hampshire Secretary of State to cease and desist from the unlawful suppression of voters. I've never heard of suppression of voters charged from a United State to a major party in this country. And as Andrew just said, the Biden campaign is conducting a massive write-in campaign right now, spending over $1 million. They've had every cabinet member up here, the governor of Massachusetts, the Boston mayor, members of Congress. It appears they're desperate, and they recognize that anything short of 80%, he's going to be the exact weak candidate that I've been talking about here, Chris, as you know, for months. And look, I'm just trying to get a competition here, not a coronation. I don't understand why this delusion continues, but I'll tell you, it's very consequential because we need to defeat Donald Trump, period.
Practical question, philosophical question that goes to what you just said. So the bar for you is, let's say, somewhere between 22 and 25%. Because if the historical bar is somewhere around 80, but then you have the discount effect of them saying, well, he wasn't even on the ballot. I mean, how could you hold him to that standard, which is the clever part of them not putting him on the ballot? Do you believe that you can get upwards of 25% of the vote?
I do. I think based on just the last few days, as anybody who's been up here can attest, Chris, it's rather remarkable. We started here just 10 weeks ago. Nobody knew my name. I was at 0% in the polls. And the latest tracking poll had us over 30%. Now, if we come in the 20s, that would be literally unexpected and quite extraordinary. For a candidate who just started 10 weeks ago, I'm telling you, Chris, people are desperate for change. 70% of the country wants neither of these candidates. And the fact that Joe Biden's not on the ballot, well, you know what? People know he's the president. They know it's a primary. They're working their tails off to get him on, to get a write-in campaign. I'm telling you, he's going to be the very weak candidate now. Not just on polls, which we all know, now voters are going to demonstrate the same thing, and we know what's going on, and that's the truth.
So here's the tricky spot for you. You and I have talked a couple of times now, and I've been watching a lot of what you're doing. And it's interesting, Bobby Kennedy has been quiet recently, or maybe I'm missing something. But your guy's argument is somewhat the same, which is, hey, Bobby's is a little different because he says the party doesn't want me, so I have to do it this way. But you're saying, I love being a Democrat. I believe in the Democrats. Yep. We're setting ourselves up to lose. You have to be getting an increasing number of phone calls from Democrats who are saying, no, brother, you've got a bright future, but you're helping us lose by making it more likely that a damaged Biden has to deal with Trump and he'll lose. How do you negotiate that space?
Actually, Chris, it's actually the opposite. The party completely disenfranchised me the day I made my declaration to run. And by the way, you know this. I was a member of House Democratic leadership elected by my peers. I resigned from that position because of my conviction was incongruent with all of theirs. They immediately excommunicated me, essentially. And I gave up my career in Congress. I knew this would happen. But I got to tell you, Chris, it's actually the opposite. I'm now starting to get the calls from people saying, my goodness, you were right. I was just with the president. I couldn't believe it. I'm seeing the numbers. I wish I had that kind of courage. Why is nobody else doing this, Chris? I'm telling you, we're just getting going, by the way. This is the first in the nation primary, and the writing's on the wall. It's actually the opposite.
Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of News Nation's fact-driven coverage.